welcome to Paperback Flicks.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Paperback Flicks. I am Ruth Craddock
And
here
Ray
with
Davidson.
Ray Davison and that guy over there. That is my brother slash author Luke. Do you go by Luke R. Harris or L.R.
Yeah,
Harris?
it's three-time published author Luke R. Harris. Put it on a
Yes.
shirt
Luke R. Harris. Okay.
because if you leave out the R, then it just sounds like who cares,
Yes.
and
As you
it's kind
learned
of
as a small child.
and many traffic stops. Who cares? I care. I'm giving you a ticket. So you just get used to it. What was the
So
question? Luke R.
tell us
Harris.
about yourself.
I am. I was raised a small black boy in the Philippines, and until I came back to the States, then I realized I wasn't a Polynesian, that I was in fact a Haole. Um,
Um,
very white, not terribly white,
I'm
but
wondering.
Lebanese enough, at least 19% or 10% according to Ancestry. Funny thing about
18%? I don't even know anymore.
no, it's 10%. According to Ancestry or 23andMe, I have 2% unknown DNA for some reason. But they're like, we can kind of pinpoint it to the Black Sea area, the Latvia, which, funny enough, my second twin daughter is going to Romania, which is modern day Transylvania.
Nice.
So excited for her.
Cool.
She's gonna meet grandpa. But so oddly enough, the vampire teeth attracts a lot of people. And yes, they're natural. I should do the soda can thing.
Yes, I think I've talked about you doing it before on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll have to wait. I mean, I already filled up. So
Yeah, man, not the same.
we'll do it later. So you then attract an army of goth chicks in fishnets that just gravitate towards you for no reason at all, but they're just like, I seen it. He's got sharp teeth. I need to talk to him. And then when I was working with a bunch of gothics at a movie theater, they kept trying to teach me about magic, like
Oh yeah.
Wicca stuff. And I just seemed to be a natural witch. Like, I'm like, well, what if you did this to, you added this blood to this thing and put it in the frog skull? And they're just like, oh my gosh, no, don't do that. But tell me what happens if you do. Just they were fun, but it was like pre Hot Topic. They had to dye their own doilies and
Oh yep.
sell their hair to grandmas and stuff like that. But, we had fun. I ended up having to fight an actual wizard once. This guy, he seemed like a regular, Happy Valley, Utah return missionary type, clean cut guy. Never would have thought he was a full fledged practicing descendant of Voldemort. And and this is way before Harry Potter too. I mean, like only reference we had was Lord of the Rings and like Depeche Mode or something. And it was good. I mean, I think The Craft came out around that time. It was like
Yeah,
97 or 96.
that's about
Good
right.
stuff. I love Faruza Balk. She's the best. But so this
So
guy was tasked, this wizard was tasked by my girlfriend at the time to enchant a ring he had given her. It was like my girlfriend got rings or gifts from everybody that Valentine's because she was the office siren or whatever. And so I wasn't at all jealous about any of it. It was I mean, I maybe told like the assistant manager, I swear, if you give her, I'll kill you. If anybody else gives her a gift, I'll just kill him. So enchanted this ring thing and gave it to her because she wanted to know if she had found true love. I'm like, are you freaking ridiculous? You need the ring to tell you that? Come on. But anyways, she started having issues, like it would tighten up and heat up on her hand whenever I was around. Whenever she'd days off, she'd have like weird thoughts. I mean, so this guy legitimately did some negative things to it. She'd complain to other people. She wouldn't tell me. Other people would take it. It would heat up or burn in their hands and stuff. I took it one time. It made my hand go dry and cracked and bleeding in like 15 minutes. So I I knew this guy did legit evil magic with it, so I took it, tried to do a scan, so to speak, remote viewing. Yeah, everybody does these things, and saw what he did to it, and basically knew he didn't do what she said, so she gave it back to him, and we were done with this guy. And I kind of started studying and understanding that there are real energies out there. There are real evil people that are using natural gifts for their own ill-gotten gains and stuff. Like true magic, it's neither good nor evil. And it's the same with like everyone's natural spiritual gifts, whatever you want to call them, talents, whatever. It's only what we use them for determines if it's for selfish means or if we're trying to bless other people, that kind of stuff. So then fast forward years through my life, I had a buddy that was doing guerrilla filmmaking in high school, and he wanted a movie script. And so that's kind of, you had mentioned you don't have the second book. Shame on you, Ruth.
No, not
But
yet.
this one was my original movie script.
I
And
read that one. I remember that.
yeah, so this is pretty much the same thing. I just had to format it for
A book.
novelization kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, Probably wrapped up. I don't think I had like everything wrapped up as far as the end of the book. I had like some ideas and the basic plot, but didn't flesh it all out with dialogue and everything. But so this is all fleshed out. But he wanted something that was simple, low budget that he could film with like skaters. And I'm like, yeah, I totally hear you. Bikers versus vampires. And wrote this thing, and he's just like, I can't make that. I have that kind of budget. So that was my proverbial Hollywood movie script in my pocket when I worked as a carpenter. And
'Cause
I
everyone has
did
to have.
everybody has to have one. I mean, we all can't become actors like Harrison Ford or whatever.
Yeah,
But
but he did the
there
waiting game. I actually read a thing about him.
yeah,
That was his
yeah,
plan. He saw that there was a whole bunch of people were trying to do it at the same time. He's like, I'm gonna become a carpenter first, and eventually I'll get there. So he just waited
yeah.
everybody else out.
And he had worked with Lucas before as the antagonist in
American Graffiti.
American Graffiti.
Uh-huh.
And so he'd just been hanging out doing carpentry work there for Coppola's area. So
Uh-huh.
he knew George. It wasn't like this, oh hey, you want to read, random thing. He
Yeah.
knew him, and money's he's like money's money. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And and
And
one
I'm sure
time,
he saw this handsome guy was like, what are you doing doing carpentry, sir? You're a movie star.
well, yeah, I mean, but the the thing is, you never know how it's all going to pan out. And I had a roommate who was a fledgling director,
Mhm.
and he had me. I did two movies that I hope never see the light of day. But
Well,
yeah,
what did you do in those
what
movies?
uh, I basically played um, kind of a spinoff of Patrick Swayze if he wasn't a bank robber in Point Break.
Okay.
And so like I literally just like walk out of the water with the surfboard, sit down like I just got done with a big wave, and some new kid from Iowa showed up and started asking me about surfing, and I basically said, "Shit, just take the board out there and go, man. Just get in the water and feel the water." And it's just funny, but the other short film he had me was being a gigolo.
Of course, sure. Why not?
It was awesome because like he filmed me like shaving before I went out, and then he had me walk the streets in front of the police station. It was awesome. But
Good times.
the other thing he did though was he was a script editor. So he worked for a couple people,
Mm-hmm.
and he fancies himself someone like a Hitchcock or whatever. He had
Okay.
some old school roots, and he read my script, and he basically was like, "You're way too visually descriptive for Hollywood. Hollywood basically, when you do a scene description, it's so simple.
Yeah.
You know,
Less is more for them.
exterior, exterior, the location, whatever, and time of day. That's fine. That's all simple. That's your basic header. And then you can kind of describe what happens, who's there and what's happening. But I go into vivid detail and run you through the roller coaster of the car chase or the wreck or the fight or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Where like Michael Bay would suggest you put car chase and let him do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah. And change the scene every 3 seconds. New
Yeah,
shot.
so I
New
mean,
shot. New shot.
basically, he had said you should turn it to a novel. He was one of the ones. My wife Lindsay, here's the both of them in the picture. Can't really think it's people washes out white people, but
Yes.
anyways, that's the both of them. Uh, they weren't dating or anything. They just happened to be my two favorite people at the time,
Mm.
and but she said that she told me that I should write it as a book, and then
It sounds like it was halfway there anyways.
yeah, I mean it's kind of it pretty much. But you then Harry Potter was coming out, and you're just like, oh my gosh, people, this isn't the first time we've had novels about magic. Have you not read The Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
and
That's so
Chronicles of
funny.
Narnia?
Well, there's actually these books called The Worst Witch that came out in the
Uh,
70s. They're very similar to what Harry Potter is, but it's a girl and but everybody acts like Harry Potter like totally like made it all new. And it's like, that's all stuff that was already there. It's just their own version of it.
Well,
I
and
love it when
that was a TV series too. And then when they made it, they redid it recently in the last decade or so, and everybody was like, "You're just copying Harry Potter." And I kind of wanted to be like, Harry
No.
Potter came decades after, but
Harry Potter is just Star Wars with crappy lightsabers. Pro-
Oh,
Prove me wrong. He's an orphan kid. Some weird old man tells him he's got magic powers.
okay.
Keep going. I mean, his best friend,
Well, Luke
Dave,
never went to an actual school to train. His training was pretty
no,
spastic, but
he shouldn't have even been like a teacher. He freaked out over some kid having a nightmare. I love Star Wars. Treat all of it as canon. The Acolyte, the new stuff, treat it as canon.
okay.
All of
I
the
haven't
stuff
seen
that's
it.
pissing everything's oh, the fans are getting so pissed right now.
Well, yeah,
And that's like
Disney got it.
funner. That's funner to watch. Don't worry.
How mad that
Dave
the fans get.
Dave and John will come back and fix it all. It'll get fixed.
Okay.
So that kind of like started that journey. So I really, when I write, I see it visually. You know,
Hmm.
you and I were raised by artists, and we do art stuff, and so I I got a brother that still pushes me to do comic books, and he that's all he wants is to be able to.
Which one is that? There are four
There's several of them. I only talked
other
to like a
brothers.
few of them. It tapers off, but Caleb wants me to do comic books.
Oh, okay.
I've got those gifts, and I it's not like I don't want to do comic books. It's
Would you
just
do a graphic novel version of your books?
Mhm. So I'd gone to school for illustration, and we had done children's book illustration and comic books, and I had studied some comic book stuff, and I had talked to some art directors, and they'd seen my work. So it's similar to storyboarding because I was wanting to get into storyboarding,
Yeah, that would be cool.
and that's always fun. So then there's so much to learn to get to a point, and a lot of times, if I were to go back in hindsight to tell younger me what to do, it would be not, if you want to be, an artist or movie director or any of these things, can't have family. It's just really difficult to also make time to do these other things when you're spending every minute that you can trying to be with your family. I mean,
True.
I remember my dad like just racking his brain trying to figure out if he talked to one of us that week. It's
Well,
like,
there
where's
were
that kid?
8 of us, so
I need to
gotta
find
give
that
them a
kid.
little slack. That's a lot of kids.
But I mean, I get it. I go through that. I'm like, have I talked to Joey this week? Nah, he's fine. I don't need to talk to that one. But middle kids do just fine. But so there, I see it visually when I write. So that's ultimately the goal I would like is to have a live action version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Hollywood kind of just churns things into simplified, watered down,
Or woke.
woke, whatever. I mean, there's so many reasons why not to go with Hollywood.
Yeah.
I have I've sat down with a friend of a friend, and she produces Netflix shows.
Mm-hmm.
Her fiance does some horror stuff, and they've done some Netflix stuff, and just picked their brain, and we had a good lunch, and she got a copy of the book, and basically she broke it down that you know a lot of the same thoughts that I already had, she had dropped out there. She's like, AI is becoming an amazing tool now, and it's becoming easier and cheaper, and you could get away with a lot of things without even pissing off Hollywood, by not even worrying about using their actors or their likenesses or any of that. That's all they really need to do. They needed to sort out was just getting how to get a meta AI likeness royalty and have ownership of it,
Okay.
voice and all that,
Yeah.
and then just sell their likeness for whatever projects. Then they're in everything. But ultimately, that is what I'd like to do. Is instead of 2-hour movies, they'd be there's 20 there's 20 chapters or something in these, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to do each chapter as an episode,
Yeah. That's fun.
and then you got to see each book is a season, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak,
Yeah.
or you could do you know before the book or after the book, because each book, the whole series, so like the screenplay was kind of like A New Hope. It was kind of smack dab in the middle of a story that already existed, a universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm like, okay, I need to go back and tell the beginning origin story of the neighborhood, the town's resident witch, because the biker gang goes and hires the witch to help them rescue their friend that got kidnapped from the vampires.
Okay.
And so
Do
the
your
idea
witch's
was
name
it is Nonabel. So
and then
the
tell
her
people what that comes from.
her whole name is Nonabel Lamia Venatora. So like some authors, you kind of put hints in their name of like what they are or who they are or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Real easy for me. I mean, we've used it in family names, because part of our family's from Lebanon, so it's just Lebanon backwards.
Yeah.
But then
I've
it
always
turns
really liked
into
that. I always thought that was really clever.
then it turns into a play on words, non-able, and then Lamia is witch, and then uh her dad's last name is Venator, which is hunter. And so she's a non-able witch hunter or a novice. So it's
Yeah.
basically she's a novice.
Okay.
So the true sense of, Harry Potter, but let's not be coy and really want Hermione to be our hero. Let's just be Hermione. So
Yeah.
we're going with like that. So Nightmares was basically her first monster that she was fighting. This is how she became a witch, the town's monster hunter, and where she trains. A lot of the ideas too was the Matrix had come out, and it was really cool, the concept of being able to do rhetoric practice in some type of safe environment that wasn't in the real world. And
Yeah.
you can do that with lucid dreaming. Your husband's band Lucidate. Um, lucid dreaming is a level of REM sleep. You can get there by having a dream diary and using you data dump everything when you wake up. Everything that you can remember, you
Mm-hmm.
data dump it into the dream diary, and then your subconscious mind starts going, "Oh, you're gonna take care of this for me. Okay, I'll give you some of that," and you'll start getting more and more details.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do that, then you can start manipulating the dream world. I mean, a lot of us have been able to do things like feats of super strength or flying. You know exactly how to fly when you're dreaming. If if but you can't do it in reality yet because you haven't connected the neuromuscular pathways.
Yeah.
So so the concept is that Nonabel believes that she could teach other regular normal people how to manipulate reality through rhetoric practice while dreaming. So
Okay.
there's dream walking, dreamscape sharing kind of thing. So there's a lot of fun and potential you can have with that. We do envision someday doing kind of like a large world video game, kind of like Fortnite, where you can take your dreamer and their daydream and their nightmare totems and evolve them like Pokemons in your dreamscape, and then go use them to battle and
Okay.
cross over at other people's dreams. So it's like my sons are into video games, so that's kind of one thing. I'm like, this is totally something that y'all are wanting to do.
Mm-hmm.
Make your customize your avatar to look like you. People do their cosplay OG characters and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And and then Pokemon was all coming out, and I'm just like, well, that's spirit animals and totems and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
you, so we've got like a good side and a chaotic side, and that's how you channel different abilities, and they can project out into reality, whether you want it or not. And a lot of the dream sequences that happen is because my imagination is very surrealistic. Just you want to definitely give people a sense of an actual reality before you start bending reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so uh, second second book, it's from the main uh, the biker gang leader that Nonabel kind of has a crush on in this one. Well, she always has a crush on him, but he has visions of death, the Grim Reaper, trying to come and kill him. And these were like actual dreams I've had. Just I don't think I changed anything from it. That was the actual dream. And so you'll experience things like falling dreams, chase dreams, flying, and all these real things. And just blurring the line of what is a dream and what's reality. So then the idea is that the next new book is the next new narrator. So you're not stuck with poor, depressed Bella Swan for 4 books, and you get a break from them.
Yeah.
Um,
That's interesting. I like that.
Mhm.
So it's Nonabelle in the first book in Nightmares. And
Yep.
then is it Derek? Is that who it is in the second book?
Second book is Johnny.
Johnny, sorry. Derek is her boyfriend in the
Johnny,
first book.
Derek. So I had already established in my screenplay the first version that Derek was her ex-boyfriend, and that was the extra challenges. The leader of the biker gang's trying to convince her to save her ex-boyfriend from
Oh,
vampires, and she's like, not interested, kind of
no.
thing. But you're cute. I'll do it because of you. And so that's how it's like.
Yeah, so
That's
you
how.
had to go back and write the relationship when she wasn't, when she did care about him.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So yeah,
Mm.
that was fun to go back in the first book, bring her back to being a new novice, young kid, just a regular kid. Her big goal is to try to hide all of this from her siblings and from her boyfriend, who was like make openly made fun of gothic people and hated the weirdos, and she was becoming one and was just naturally one. There's all kinds of uh different fun little adventures that happen within this thing.
Okay.
But basically you're stuck with her all day, every day. It's her point of view, first person narrative type of thing. And that's one of the biggest challenges with the entire series is that each book is that. It's
But it's a
you're
different
that
person each time,
you're
right?
that person, but it's a different person each time.
Okay. So who's
And
the main narrator in book three?
book three then is her ex-boyfriend, Derek.
Okay.
So
So is that one
spoiler,
out yet or
that one's out. Yeah, that's
yeah,
here.
okay. I thought I saw that it was. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
So I
that
just want to
one,
point out Luke's had these book covers designed since way back when.
yeah,
Yeah,
I designed the book covers. Um,
way back when. So like just I just think it's interesting because like he knew what he wanted and he stayed with that. So literally like back when he wrote the screenplay, like
yeah,
these were your movie like posters you envisioned.
yeah. Before there was Pinterest, I was doing scratch files. You pull pages out of magazines, and then
Mm-hmm.
the internet came around, and you can screenshot stuff.
Yeah, I did.
And but yeah, it was the oil lamp cover. The flames one image, the glass is a separate image,
Mm-hmm.
and this part is I think with the flame, but the base isn't. So
Yeah.
now the hard part is I'm having my son's 3D model it. I'm like, this is what a whole hurricane oil lamp, kerosene lamp looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I want it to be. I want to make a bookend that's as tall as the book with a little tea light and kind of red resin and stuff. I'm like, we can do this. I can do this, but I need you guys to do it. And they're like, why? Why do I have to do it? I'm like, I can do all these things myself. I want you to do it, and I'm going to have you do it as a learning process so that you
Mm-hmm.
have some skill. You gotta get them to learn something.
Yeah.
But then ultimately, like I had to come up with a finalized cover for the whole series. I don't know if I have it anywhere. It's a green inkwell thing
Okay.
that has a raven feather. Yeah, so the basic idea is that the object on the cover is an item in the book that it's usually why I titled the book what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Revolvers obvious, but the idea for the main theme for this is what goes around comes around, kind of karma thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It
the
revolves around.
yeah,
Huh.
and um, no fate. Basically, the hourglass has something that is an object that is talked about. And the set of keys is a magical item that uh, somebody uses.
Okay.
Same with the oil lamp. The oil lamp is um, a gift, and there's particular things involved with it.
Okay.
But
Is there a fourth book
the,
planned?
the fourth book was 937 pages, and so I'm
Becoming two books,
refining.
perhaps?
I'm d well, I
I did
the
that.
the fun part of that one is it's primarily a time travel book.
Okay.
It's basically a drunken time thief booze cruise adventure with a mute ninja vampire hunter.
Okay.
And
All right.
so ultimately I'm writing these all as TV series. And so with that one, it's like, I've got a lot of extra stories so we can put those aside
Mm-hmm.
and do other stuff with that one. So it
What's that
first
one
step,
called?
that one's called Hunter. It
Okay.
was a began as a collaboration with my brother Ephraim. But each book introduces the next new narrator. So Hunter was, because I had asked him back when I was doing this one, I'm like, okay, you wanted your character. This was his version of Batman kind of
Okay.
thing, same kind of Batman origin type of stuff, but like a vampire. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna put him in here as a you know side character that shows up to kind of just set that stage and introduce him. And then he's the narrator in his self-titled book.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I mean, all he had only written a couple of little stories and had a couple ideas. But we had the basic premise of the character and the origin. So now I get to flesh out the origin.
Okay.
I get to uh go through his whole mission in life and purpose, and you get to experience it all in flashbacks as they're stuck back in time. The time ship gets marooned, kind of thing,
Okay.
and the time pirates trying to fix all that so they can go back around. And it's basically like all the best time travel shows, like Time Bandits and Bill and Ted's and all, and Doctor Who. I guess I hear is pretty good. I never watched it, but
I've never watched it. I like
No.
The Legends of Tomorrow. That was a good show.
yeah, Legends of Tomorrow, um, good stuff in there. Just kind of the same idea. You've got like individuals that aren't terribly amazing on their own, but in a team setting can be
Interesting.
interesting later. But the idea is that this ninja vampire is so self-destructive and suicidal.
Okay.
Um, and 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 the time pirate is all, kind of a jovial, fun-loving guy. I imagine Monterey Jack from Rescue Rangers kind of idea.
I
Just
love that.
he loves life and everything. So his whole new mission is to make this grumpy ninja vampire guy happy and not suicidal. But
Okay.
they their paths cross, and they've got like an equal shared goal, and
Okay.
it's kind of it's a fun piece, but ultimately all of them have to keep pushing towards the next
The next book. So
concept and everything.
do you have like how many books do you plan out? Do you have planned for the whole series at this point?
I have I wrote it down. There are 10
10? Okay.
in the
Are you
series.
planning to take that 800, 900 page book and split it up, or are you going to keep it all
Oh,
as one?
that one, that's all purely their time travel adventures. So that will be dedicated. That'll be some source material for the TV series. Then it's like, here, dude, make an anime out of this that it could go on for 1,500 years.
Okay.
Like it's a
But you're going to have like a
potentially
book version of that in Hunter?
the book. The Hunter will basically cover the Act One, Act Two, Act Three of the overarching, but in between there are peppered stories that you get to witness that help move along the pieces towards they get to the finished pieces of the puzzle that they need to to ultimately end some bad guy or something.
Yeah.
But the whole basic idea is there. I just needed to take out about 500 pages of that, and now it's just refining the remaining things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Been
The
there.
ex- the extra additional annoying thing is Time Pirate has like a Scottish accent. You got to make sure that you keep that straight.
Yeah.
And the Japanese, the Mutant Ninja Hunter Japanese guy,
Japanese too. Man, this guy is all sorts of interesting.
he can think in English, but it's not. He's not going to have any conjugation. He's not gonna have any compound words like don't. He's going to say do not. So that's always another thing to have to keep straight.
Yeah. I'm
I
here for them.
I I type while I talk and drive. I have a lot of drive time. So I use talk and type, and unless I put myself in the mindset of the character and can say what they're going to say or narrate it the way they're going to narrate it, I have
Mm-hmm.
to go back and refine it. I
Yeah.
can if I'm just like I got an idea, I got to get it off my chest, then I'll do a data dump.
And
But
if you have it done in audiobooks, that's the most annoying thing. My husband hates reading. He won't do it. I love reading. He will listen to anything on an audiobook though. And so like right now, the series that I have started reading, he's like 2 books ahead of me because he'll do it on audiobook. But whenever I hear that, like, based on the description or kind of what I'm reading, I have an idea of like what they should sound like in my head. Clearly, this is Cockney or whatever. And
right,
when the audiobook reader isn't doing it, or they suddenly throw in a weird accent that I'm like, did the author say anything about they should have this accent? Because it makes no sense to me. It pulls me out so bad.
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My one brother Jacob, he says he won't read the book until there's an audio version, and
People are like
then
that.
his family's so annoying.
I
But
know. Good
he's
thing
like,
you're not
no,
going to the reunion.
right? He he's like, no, you should instead of hiring other actors to do uh the characters, you should just do all the characters. And I'm like, the first book is an 18-year-old chick from Texas. I'm not doing
You can
that.
just, well, you have daughters around that age. You can just
I
like
do. I
inner
have
girl.
auditioned the daughters, but they're just such shy little timid sheep,
Oh,
even though they sing in front of hundreds of people or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's
Aren't
I
they
was
just,
gonna
like
say,
beauty?
I'll do it. I'm 40, but I could pull
yeah,
18.
They competed in beauty pageants. They're
I
shy.
know. It's so weird. It's so weird. But it'll eventually, it's probably going to be an AI thing that I have
Yeah,
and
that's
just
one
have to
thing.
sit there.
I'm not huge into the whole AI thing. The one thing that does pique my interest is the possibility of having AI narrator for an audiobook. Because I
Yeah,
have a hard time, first off, I have a hard time deciding if I want my books to be narrated as a woman or as a man. Because, if you don't understand the story, it's possible to be
are
either.
you doing omnipresent narrator and you're
Yeah.
just saying,
Like,
"Hey, Harry said this, Hermione said this,"
yeah.
which is like the easiest version of writing.
No, not the way I do it.
So jealous.
Mine's present tense, third person present tense.
Like
Nobody does
Venom.
it, but like, so the prologues are third
Okay.
person past tense, but the main books are all first person or third person present tense. So confusing, but that's just kind of how it worked out. When I was writing it, it just didn't sound right until I switched it up. So it might drive some people crazy.
Right.
So
Good.
yes, the omnipresent narrator, it can be whatever you want it to be. So I'm not sure what I would do. I talked to Johnny about maybe narrating my books because, my husband's a former actor.
Mhm.
And like, he's like, I'd have to do it when I first wake up in the morning and I have like the deeper resonant voice. And I'm like, okay, so for like 10 minutes a day, you're gonna narrate my book for me. He's like, yeah.
Gotta gargle a bottle of Tabasco sauce and coyote urine before I start.
Well, and Scott has some of one. one of the series that he was listening to, depending on who, like if this chapter is focusing on one of the male characters, then it is a man that's reading you that chapter. And then if the next chapter is a focus on a female character, then there's a female narrator that narrates
Yeah.
that chapter. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do that, and that's interesting. But then, as like the author and being the person that has to sort of orchestrate that, that's a
Mhm.
lot more work to produce. Then you have to have a different actor for every little part.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this the second book, Johnny could I could easily do Johnny. Um,
Hmm.
but um, but yeah, Nonabelle, I gotta have somebody else. My buddy's daughter, she's early 20s. She's got this amazing Southern accent,
Okay.
but now, I mean, now she's in freaking Hawaii, so I don't know. And I've
Oh,
already put it on the table. I said $1 a page, and which is decent, and just leave it up to them. And she's recorded some stuff,
oh,
and
okay.
it's just freaking perfect.
Cool.
Just a clean read with the accent, which is fine. Um, she's not going to do a whole lot of emotion or whatever, but they can get into that. But
Hey, an
we got
audiobook is better than no audiobook.
I I'm not terribly in a rush. I mean, s- started it in high school and had kids, and then one of my buddies was going to publish books in his retirement, and I'm like, well, I got books, and he's like, you got book covers? Because he knew me doing art, and yeah, I got book covers. It's like, how quickly can you get it done? I'm like, oh, well, I've shelved this thing for like 20 years, so yeah, give me 8 months, I'll finish it or
Get it
whatever.
dusted off.
Yeah, I'll dust it off. But now you had asked, yeah, about how many. So there's going to be 10, ultimately 10 books in the series. The final book being the diary, the spell book, the family spell book.
Okay.
So Nonabella is gifted the grimoire, the family diary spell book, kind of a photo album thing. It's an index, and basically she's got that, and she'll share it with people, but it alludes to and opens up into more knowledge and everything else.
Cool.
But
Like
ultimately,
hidden passageways inside a book.
it she learns spells to find secret rooms that shouldn't exist, where
I think secret
basically,
rooms should exist everywhere.
but the diary is basically the card catalog index
Oh, okay.
uh for the library.
Oh, okay. That
So
makes
it will have the family's library. It'll have a bunch of short stories in there. It's like when her
okay.
mom was a witch, when grandma was a witch, some of grandpa's monster hunting stories, things like
Okay.
that.
Cool.
So it'll be the rest of the short stories, not so much trying to like overarch anything, but just data dump the rest of the crap. Um, the I try to, as you're learning, as she's learning magic, you also are learning the spells. So
Which makes
like,
sense.
there, you know, she'll
Mhm.
have the whole spell there, kind of thing.
Cool.
Um, and it's mostly in her book. It's not so much in everybody else's. But like Hunters, he will write a little bit of Japanese here or there, like headings of chapters, and
Okay.
teach words, when he's fumbling on a word or whatever. So
Okay.
that's the other part of it this year, is learning Japanese. My new favorite word is tokidoki. It means sometimes, but
Now, Ray's mom went to Japan on her mission, and
Yep.
Ray
oh,
just went to Japan for her birthday this year.
In
mm,
in March. Yep.
Yep, the long
good
time
time.
desire. And we had Japanese class together in junior high. Yep.
Hmm.
I don't remember anything, but I took Japanese when I was 12. Yeah.
I think I live with a Chinese family in Iowa, and I believe next to Spanish, Chinese is probably a near perfect language. It's so simple. As basically you say, I cook now, I cook tomorrow, I cook yesterday. That's all you have to do.
Okay.
Where it's like we have to I cooked, past tense, I will cook. It's like, no, man, you
Yeah.
don't have to waste. Idiot.
Supposedly English is one of the hardest languages, the most
And
complex.
then Japanese, they go and they're like, just do what Spanish does, add an O at everything. Skip borrow. And you're like, what the crap? Toki doki.
Yeah, they actually did tell it when we were in Japan. Our tour guide was like, because it was just the two of us and our guide, and they would take us around everywhere. And she was like, honestly, most of the time, if you say the English word but try to put our accent on it, we know what you mean. I'm like,
Also, it's like once you're there,
oh.
you have full permission to go, oh, basketball. It's like, come on. No, I don't have to do that. My eyes are already like
What
that.
to say? We have almond
So,
shaped eyes to begin with.
well, like dad was telling some guy, I was standing there with the guy, and he's telling, oh yeah, he's from the Philippines, and he's born out in Guam. He's like, oh yeah, he's kind of Asian. Look at his eyes. I'm like, what the crap are you talking about? But yeah, that's like the widest I can make my eyes. But so now I I basically have 9 real stories for the whole thing. You can read each one as a standalone. That's how I sell it at book conventions and
Okay.
stuff. It's like, well, this
And
one's
that's fun.
smaller. I'll take this one. It's like, okay, but you're gonna go, well, I want to read the other one. I gotta read the other one. And
Yeah,
that's
lure 'em in.
just the way you gotta design it. Um, I'm writing book 5 and 6 kind of together.
Okay.
Um, basically because they're mirror stories.
Okay. That sounds interesting.
Um, and like right at the end of Hunter, I introduced the next bad guy problem to solve, which is kind of what other people have been off doing instead of helping other people out. You're just like, well, why can't Nonabel just swoop in and solve the damn problem? Because I didn't like that about Hermione, just always solving Harry's damn problem. Harry should have just learned that it's like, hey, the hell up, and that's how he finished. Voldemort was shot him. It's like that's his whole Muggle life was to learn how to shoot. That's the whole like Dumbledore saw it's like the only advantage this kid's gonna have is if he learns firearms. But I've never liked that about the whole Deus ex machina concept is some magic god from the machine gonna the narrator's gonna the author's gonna swoop in and fix everything for you. No,
Yeah.
I hate that.
Mhm.
But underlying theme as well is each book deals with a different mental health issue.
Oh,
It's
I like that.
therapy. So this is
Is this
addiction.
your therapy?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, this is addiction
Okay.
because magic is like crack.
Got it.
The
Makes
more
sense.
you use it, the more
The
you
more
get
you
hooked
need
to
to
it.
use.
Did you ever see The Covenant? Stephen Strait. Um, what's his name? Sebastian Shaw.
I think.
The Covenant, male witches. Yeah, it's basically
Yeah.
they heavily pushed that the more they used magic, the more hooked they were to it, the more then they
And the
become
more
like
it like ages them or
strung out versions of themselves. Yeah, his
yeah,
dad looked like 100 years old or something.
yeah,
But
yeah. I remember that.
that's that's basically what she goes through is waking up in weird places and just her sister's floating above candles and stuff, and she's like, "What the hell was I doing?"
What
Like she
happened? So
wakes up
what's the second book's mental health issue that it tackles?
second second facing your fears,
Facing your fears, okay.
yeah,
Phobias?
phobias,
All right.
and basically, that it was just getting over eh, abandonment issues. That's mostly it. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, he gets over what happened to his parents and stuff. It's like everybody, for some reason, every character ends up like losing their parents or something.
It just made
And,
people more interesting, you know? Like nobody
yeah.
really wants to read a book about somebody who has this wonderful life, these awesome parents. I mean,
Well, I mean,
there's just no conflict.
Derek's parents were still together and alive. I mean, the dad's married to his job as a police detective, and the mom's married to her whiskey bottles or whatever her
Yeah,
she's an
that sounds like a
alcoholic.
pretty happy marriage.
But they're together. I mean, come on, give them points for that. And
There's
they only
together and then
raised
there's together.
right. And but
So
he the third book is Derek um dealing with his new life and abilities and issues of being a vampire kind of thing.
is it like imposter syndrome? He's like, I don't feel like
Yes.
I
But it's also a lot of men's mental health.
okay.
The stress of being a husband and a father, provider, protector, all these things. And then just the ridiculousness of therapy being analyzed by people that could possibly understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
They're there to help. So luckily he hires Nonabel to be his therapist and she will help him
That's,
in the
that sounds
dreamscape.
interesting.
Yeah, so she'll send a version, an astral projection of herself to help him, but only in his dreams. He has to deal with his own stuff in the real world.
All
Um,
right. Well, cool.
and
What is the major mental health issue you're sort of tackling in the fourth book?
fourth book is suicide.
Suicide. All right. That makes
Yep,
sense. Yeah,
pretty much.
that's interesting. That's cool.
This guy is so straight, self-destructive, self-loathing. I mean, he
Yeah.
hunts vampires, and it's not a secret. He is a vampire,
Yeah. Okay.
but yeah, it's all revenge. He's just like it's like what Peacekeeper said. It's like I love peace with all my heart, but I'll kill every man, woman, and child to get it. And
Interesting.
it's
Okay.
kind of that same thing with he'll in order for him to be satisfied, he's got to kill every single vampire out there,
Including himself. Okay.
including himself. Which
All right.
Japanese culture, this suicide
Yeah.
ritual,
Yeah. Okay.
and that seems definitely going to be heart wrenching with everything that these two friends have to go through. Because in
Mhm.
order for you to do it right, and especially with vampire, to because he doesn't want to exist anymore,
Yeah.
and you've got to be able to do it right. Because he doesn't want to go to hell because he's left too many enemies, and he doesn't think he deserves heaven.
Just want to meet them up in Hell
Yeah,
Prison.
he's like, why do I need to go see him again? Round two.
So he's gonna
So
redeem himself by getting rid of all the other vampires, kind of a thing.
yep. So that's kind of where you're at. But the fifth book is kind of never lose, never leave loose ends.
Okay.
Tie up your loose ends.
Resolving
And
things.
sixth book is the prodigal. It's basically the prodigal son
Okay.
story concept.
Learning to appreciate what you have
Yeah, appreciate
once you've
what you
lost it.
have.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Cool.
seventh book. I think that was like an all-out war, just to do it.
Just for the sake
Eh,
of it. You're like, ah, that's so crazy. Yeah.
Power corrupts.
All right.
Absolute,
Okay.
absolute power corrupts.
All right.
And eighth book, everyone dies.
Good to know.
Mhm.
And
So
then ninth,
mourning or dealing with loss, maybe? No.
life is precious. All life
Life is
is
precious.
precious.
You never know when you're gonna go. Okay.
And then ninth book is basically everybody gets a second chance.
All right, I like it. Cool. All right. So
It's
Ray, do you
actually
have any
called Redemption. Yeah.
Ray, do you have any questions for Luke about the books and his writing journey and whatnot?
Well, more specifically, I wanted to make sure that we mentioned where people can go to get it, or places that
We'll
maybe you're
put the
doing it in
link
person, or the links
right
or
there
whatever.
over here. It'll be down at the bottom and it'll go boop and show up.
Yeah.
And then it'll be in the
Right. I mean,
description too.
if this wasn't reversed, that's
Well, it
basically
looks fine on my
It
screen.
looks, yeah, it looks
okay.
good
It
to
looks
me.
it's mirrored on mine. That's what's weird to me.
Oh.
Okay, but you can go to our podcast website. We have a page. We talk about the book all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically my intro. When my we start the show, my buddy says, I'm nobody, but here's my best friend, three-time published author, Luke R. Harris. I on his coattails as much as possible. But
Yep.
no, and I appreciate him supporting me, but it took him like a year before he finally sat down and read it. And like
Yeah.
even then it was I read each chapter on YouTube like a separate chapters. So he's like, that's how I read it. I just listened to you.
Yeah. Okay.
But now he'll be a beta reader. He'll take it. Um and he'll I think I have the copies I have are the marked up copies.
Mine too.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Like all the little things that like slip through. You're like, I went over this and I had people go over this a billion times. How is there still like an S sitting there? Just an
There
S by
it is
itself. Clearly, that
un,
was an is, and there is no I. How did that?
unbelievable. Unbelievable how many spell checkers. So like I've got the Microsoft Word spell checker just inside, but they have an editor. The editor feature of it will miss things. You can
Mm-hmm.
use Google's editor.
Yeah.
That misses
Grammar
stuff.
too.
First book had a professional. I was with the publisher till we parted ways,
Mm-hmm.
but he had a professional editor who edited scientific journals or whatever, and
Okay.
he had a whole issue with me not being an English major or whatever, and that my characters should also be English majors. I'm like,
No.
where's the rule that your characters should be affluent authors with these degrees in the worst language possible? Um, and once he started to become a fan of it, he's like, okay, I get it. I'm like, yeah, you can give me a pass on. I'm like, I will work with you on trying to tighten up some stuff so it
Yeah.
looks pretty, but she's gonna speak horribly because she's
Yeah. Because to be
wherever.
realistic, not everyone's gonna have perfect grammar or whatnot. Like everybody's gonna have their own style, and they're gonna be influenced by where they came from and their parents and what they were taught. And it's more interesting that way, anyways. If everybody spoke the same, it'd be pretty boring.
Well, and
I mean, I
even when you're reading things like Little Women or whatever, you're reading these things that like they'll just make up words to, like describe the situation, or turning a noun into a verb. I do that all the time, and I don't care if it's not technically like the proper way to say it. Sometimes that's the way to explain it to get the reader to understand it. So,
Yeah, yeah. In real life, people just make stuff up and they just say what they want to say. So,
yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Um, you want to tell us a little bit about your podcast real quick?
So, question for you podcast is basically that we'll pick a theme, we'll try to stick to it, but having a podcast that was called ADHD podcast wasn't really a good idea. We thought of ancillary, but we couldn't pronounce ancillary for the longest time. It was like ant celery. And I've only heard like maybe one other person use it in reality. Um, so question for you all, it kind of stuck. I'd had friends at work that would ask me, being the token white conservative of the group, they'd question for you, and being Mormon guy,
Hmm.
um, you know, they'd always have questions for me, so it just became an interview thing. And then being raised by an army interrogator, we get used to being questioned all the time.
Yeah. And we're all secretly film critics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I'm
my
accidentally raising film critics myself. We did it to our kids. I don't know how, we just did. And now my kids can't talk about anything. We can't see a movie or watch anything or do anything without everybody like spouting their opinion afterwards and this big debate happening. So
right, it's fun. It's fun to raise people to talk to later when they become
who were like big talkers.
less annoying.
Well, it's weird when you meet people that aren't big talkers and you're, from a family of talkers. It's really strange. And like they don't have opinions on things. And you're like, what? Like all I have is opinions. I don't think I could live a day without expressing my opinion about something.
So I didn't realize for the longest time that not all people tell stories. There's like I'm like in a book club and I tell stories. Like I do. I do this all the time and a lot and I have like a lot of dreams that are vivid dreams and I can retell you the entire dream. And it's not just like me going, and then we went in the house and then we did like I will tell you the story of my dream, And so we're at the book club, we were talking about the book and it was not a super interesting book, and so we got through it pretty quickly and then we were all just kind of hanging out, and so somebody was like, hey, so whatever happened to whatever, and so I started telling them the story, and she's like, how did you even think to do that? And I'm like, it's the weirdest thing, but I had a dream, and in the dream I knew every single ingredient to this cake that I was like, I have to have this cake. It was the best cake in the history of the world. I have to have it. And so I woke up and I knew the entire recipe, and so I'm like, I'm
Did
making
you
this
make
cake today.
it?
And we did, and it was amazing. And they call it prophecy cake now. And she's like, how? How is that a thing? And so I'm telling her the story of the dream. And she's like, another dream. She's like, how do you have so many stories? I'm like,
I'm
how do
sorry.
you
But
not?
because you wrote it down. You wrote
Yeah.
it down, so then you,
Well,
like I said, your brain's gonna go, "Oh, you're doing that? Fine, here
yeah.
you go."
That's how you retain the information. You write it down. Well, that's the thing is I noticed as I've gotten older that not everybody tells or says things in an animated way. Not everybody does voices or mimics things or like quotes everything. And I mean, around people and they're not used to that. Like it's just weird. Like you're the weirdo and you're like, huh, this is normal to me. But
Yeah, I mean, our parents didn't really intentionally raise us the way that we turned out, but I think, being a part of the herd, we became that way. There's people and characters, and we
yeah,
express
interesting herd.
me.
The Harris
I've,
herd.
I
I've
love being
got,
able to step in and then step out when.
well, it's like, you use you this this whole storytelling thing, and you're being characters. You've got to be able to, look at things from their point of view, but it always ultimately ends up being, you just writing a male version of yourself, or a drunken version of yourself, or an angry
Hmm.
version, or whatever. And it's just how it is. But doing voices and characters, or just like, I met somebody interesting, I'm going to document that person, and I'm going to catalog that person in the story, or I can use them here. And
Yeah.
it all
Observant
becomes
people do
part of
that. That's what writers do. They're people watchers and they like file all the stuff away. They think about something funny somebody said that they're like, that's interesting or that's funny. And then they'll just kind of put it away in their file cabinet in their brain and eventually it'll show up in a book somewhere.
well, it's like, I know you understand what I go through, but it's just like, how do other people not walk around with like this in their head, and it's done, and you're just kind of like, oh, I gotta manifest it into reality. But what are the rest of the world thinking if they're not like thinking these things all the time? The like
Yeah.
sports?
I think that maybe people that aren't ADHD or whatever you want to call it, um, are just getting stuff done and paying attention to what's happening right there. But the rest of us, we've got alternate universes and worlds going on, and it's not our fault. They've taken over our lives, and we're just the narrator for their stories. And I think that's why we are ADHD, because we have all these things living in our heads. So it's our
That's
fault.
you
Yeah,
turn the bug into a feature. That's
Yeah,
what
there
you
you
do.
go.
we would do construction work from like, bright and early on a weekend, dinner time, and that was how I got through the day. Was I'd turn on a story in my head,
Mm-hmm.
up writing, and then if someone else is working with me, I would tell them,
Yeah,
and then we're having fun because I'm sharing something and I can vividly describe it, and they they enjoy being a part of it.
yeah.
And I've actually uh, told people about the Book of Mormon in a fun, exciting, cinematic way, and they're just like, "That's in the Book of Mormon? I thought it was like Bible words and preaching and thou." And I'm like, "No, no, no. There's this dude that like snuck into a camp and scalped everyone in their sleep."
It's a pretty
But
violent book when you really
my
think about
wife wouldn't let me name my kid after Tiankum,
it. Oh,
but it was
That was
just
actually on the top of our list. I had 4 daughters.
really? Yeah, that,
Tiankum.
that didn't work out. Well, anyways, Luke, thank you so much for coming and talking to us and
Thank you.
sharing your book worlds with us.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know how I can contribute, but if there's a way that I can be part of the world, I'm in.
Look,
yeah.
Ray,
Dressed as Nonabelle
I
unintentionally.
need a
Just,
100,000 goth chicks to be
we
in the
got
army.
one down.
That we were
I,
actually
I,
laughing. I was like, this is the lightest my hair has been in years. And I'm like, and it's the one time I almost wish it was darker right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I got a picture of my twins, and like, I mean, Nonabelle has a little sister just younger than her, but it's kind of funny how they end up being, but like their hair is kind of normal now, but Jasmine had dyed her hair black and had bangs. And it's like, you doing that on purpose? And she like realized later, she's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's what Nonabelle looks like." I'm like, "Yeah."
I
So
can
I
watch
was just
that.
gonna show you, this is what
Oh, yeah.
Jasmine ended up looking like, and I'm like, "Yeah, you
Mm,
just want to
cute.
put on some lavender contacts for me and call it good?" But it was kind of nice because she's totally the personality and everything, and I didn't intentionally make my daughter
Inadvertently wrote
to.
your child into it.
No, no, I made up the characters before they were born,
I know.
and it's just kind of funny
Maybe
that.
they just turned out that way because you wrote your characters that way.
No,
Maybe
they
you were channeling their spirits from heaven.
could be.
You're gonna write on the front of the book? Okay.
Yeah, I do on the front, and then I'll dedicate stuff on the inside.
Okay. All right.
Being one of my least hated sisters.
Your least hated sisters. I thought it was your favorite sister. There's a big difference between least hated and favorite.
Like
Let's
when you've got like twins, you can't have a favorite anything.
what?
So yeah, you just can't.
Well,
To my least hated.
nice, nice.
Sis-
Just admit I'm your favorite. It's okay. Nobody will mind.
Right.
My
I
kids.
mean, I have to raise Luke, Ephraim, and a Ruth dynamics with my young three.
Oh yeah.
And
You.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Forget that
right.
you have the two boys and then you have Jessica. So
And I keep telling them, Jessica is the exact same thing. Like Lindsay was the last daughter too,
mm-hmm.
and she's being raised by her last daughter, and she's like, you got to be careful because she will destroy you. And Jessica, it's kind of like you and I had arguments all the time about logic and reason. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're 4. I am not arguing with you about this. But like Jessica is right. She's right about everything. And
Yep.
it took me a while to break her to stop telling me no as the first word out of her mouth. So now
No.
she annoyingly says, well, actually, and you're just like, oh man, that's even worse.
You just got a little more clever about it. Hmm.
So my kids know Ruth as Aunt Ruth, even though they haven't actually seen her very much, but we just have that dynamic. And so they'll like I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm doing the podcast tonight. And at one point, my youngest, she's 10 now, but whenever it was, she was what, 8, 7 or whatever. And she was like, is she your favorite sister? I'm like,
Technically,
don't tell your other aunts.
technically not really a sister, but close enough. It's funny. Good times, good times. Are you writing a novel inside your novel to me
Sometimes.
sometimes? All right.
Dedicated.
Wow. Nice. I can't wait to read it in person.
And then as a bonus for making you wait, you'll get this one just
Nice.
because I am interested in someone actually reading the third one
Oh, okay. Has no one
because
read it
most,
yet?
well, like I have repeat customer fans
Yeah.
that show up to conventions, especially like the Ohio ones,
Okay,
and
cool.
they're like, "Oh, I've got the first book. I was meaning to come get your. I know you had the other ones. You said you had another one every year. So like, I'm like, did you finish? And they're like, no, I haven't finished the first one. I just keep putting it down. I'm like, you got to put it in the bathroom. It's the
Mm.
bathroom reader.
There you go.
And the best compliment I've ever received, which I can't put on the back of the book, this book is so good. I forgot what I was doing a half hour later. I was still on the toilet. You know, you can't put that on the back of a book,
Why not? That's a wonderful review.
I would say, Ruth, a lot of times I would read your books when I just needed to get away from the kids. And like you put the kids in timeout for like however old they are, it's like that many minutes. And I'm like, well, I'm 36, so I will see you suckers in a half an hour. And then I
right?
would like go in and read, and like 2 hours later, they're like, Mom. I'm like, oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I still have you guys.
Hope you enjoyed your 2 hour timeout.
Right.
Really, you're putting yourself in timeout.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you'll get those two.
Nice.
I've got to. The goal this year is to wrap up the edit for book 4. I'm still claiming that it was published this year.
Okay.
Um,
We'll see,
but
right?
no, I'm not. I'm not gonna freaking upload a 937-page manuscript.
I
Freaking.
mean, you could. So how many words is that?
Mm, um,
Do you think in
there.
terms of words?
The normal 500-page book is in the 150,000 or something.
Yeah.
Um, I hardly keep track of that. Was there
Yeah.
like a certain allotment limit? We're not allowed to go over
No,
so
so
many
like
words.
the first book, they say the best thing to do for your first novel when you're first coming out is like around 90,000 words, which is
Hmm.
about what my first one was. And then my second one was like, I want to say like 125. And then the third one was like 200 something and like jumped steadily
See,
farther as you
and
go.
I'm okay with this one being smaller. It was like 300 page,
Whatever
probably
the story needs, right?
325 or something. But it's like it's a different person. It's not her. She was teaching us magic, and
She did
we
more
go over
complex
like
story.
a whole course of a year. This story is a 24-hour story.
Yeah.
This it's a course of a day, and
So it's like an episode of 24, but with vampires
yeah,
and things.
um, this one's like 10 years. It can be a little bit
Wow.
bigger.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
there's time gaps between the books. So we have potential for TV show spinoffs, stuff like that. But
Okay.
ultimately, I want to gather all the cast of The Walking Dead and put them back to work again. You're not done. Get, get back to work and see what we could do. We can come up with. I mean, at least a couple of the older characters to establish some stuff, and then like phase them out. They die as older characters. They get their royalties whenever we show a clip or a flashback or something. But
Yeah.
you know, I can get Jeffrey Dean, um, and his wife would be great. I met Ross Marquand, and he's got a copy of my book, and
Ooh, cool.
he's all down with whenever I can afford these actors. But yeah,
Sweet.
that's the
Sounds
idea.
cool. So do you, hold on, do you have, which of my books do you have?
I have you were doing the color series with your daughter, and I
Yes.
started collecting those, but I don't know how many of those I had. Um,
There's
because
four of those out. There's
I
pink,
think I have
blue,
two.
green, orange.
I'm pretty sure I have two.
What
But
about the
I
Tribes of
might
Canaan?
have your first. I don't know if you'd finished the second one
I have the third
or
one out.
you have the third one out. Okay, because like I figured we were about at the same rate, and so I didn't know.
Somewhere around there.
I know for sure I have the first book. I probably
Okay.
don't have your second book.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do an exchange. You send me those two books, and maybe I'll send
Sure.
you my next two
Yep,
books.
that works.
Send them
I
to
Um,
me.
need I need to get together with you sometime. I'm annoyed beyond reason at this. I
What?
had the first two, and then I lent them out because I'm an idiot to a relative, and it's been years now.
Never
And
saw them again. That was the end.
Now
I was like,
you host a book club. You go to my website. You can get some copies there. Don't get them from Amazon because Jeff doesn't like to share profits, and he
mhm.
can't sign them. And then you just have a party, a book club party, and then you could go, oh yeah, you guys want to meet the author, and just like I got him on speed dial, and
Wow.
that's how you can contribute. Just you do that, you know. Do it with anybody's books. Just say, hey, let's do it. We're going to do a book club. I've got a 3 books series so far, you know, and pull up Ruth's books and get them get people hooked. I mean, that's the best. Any business I've ever started or learned from, advertising's always been the biggest thing.
Yeah,
So, you know,
definitely.
books, word of mouth advertising is always the best.
Mhm.
I literally had someone at the convention. She's like, "Oh yes, I love this one, and I'm reading this one." And then her friend was like, "Oh, I have." She's like, "Go away! I need to talk to him for a second." So she like kicked her friend out. I'm like, "She's gonna buy a book. You gotta bring her back." But she's like, "No, I need to talk to you first." So it's just funny. But
Yeah.
you'll get good, you'll get true fans and stuff. But it it's really difficult to get like the majority of your friends and family to
I
read your
know.
book.
So
Well,
that's one of the funniest things is they say that the people you depend on, you're like depending on to go and like read it and like review it and buy your books are the people that expect you to give it to them for free or
mhm.
won't even read it at all. So
Yeah.
Yep,
Well, and
yep.
ultimately, I figured if she liked it enough that she's just gonna, she might watch this, and if she does, it's fine. You know what?
Mhm.
Keep them. I'll get some more. But like, it was one of those things where I was like, she took my books. And my mom's like, you can get more. I'm like, I know. And then I realized actually, it's probably a good thing if she's like, hey, I like these. Are there more? Sure. Okay, fine. Do it. Have
yeah,
them. Enjoy them. I'll get more.
more to merrier, right? Okay. Well, thanks, Luke, for joining us. Real
Thank
quick
you
before
guys.
we sign off. So back to our whole book to movie thing. Um, it's my turn to pick the movie. It might be a little different for everything else you've done this season, but I'm a huge Great Gatsby fan. I'm
Okay.
obsessed, and I pretty much just wanted to pick Great Gatsby every single time that we've talked about books. I'm like, Great Gatsby.
Are
So,
you are you ready for my
Sally
hot take on
deserves
that? I've never read or seen the movie. I don't actually understand what it is except drinking.
drink. Well, it is a 1920s
That's
story,
about
so
right.
that's
That's
not too
about
far
right.
off. The drinking involved, of course. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna read next time. If Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, and I want to watch the Robert Redford version, from like the 70s,
Oh,
80s,
the DiCaprio
and then the DiCaprio
Tobey
one. Need to
Baz
Okay.
Luhrmann, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll watch those two movies and we'll read the book. And yeah, and I'll geek out to see more.
Okay.
I
'Cause this
mean,
is
I'm
one of my
pretty
favorite
sure
authors of all times.
Baz Luhrmann just gives his editors Ascowia mushrooms, and they're all
Absence.
stoned.
He's like, oh,
They're just all stoned and high off the kite. He said, "Add more glitter and sparkles and stuff," and she's like, "What acid trip are
what am
we
I
on?"
watching? Yeah.
Have you
It
seen
worked
the
really
Elvis?
well in Moulin Rouge.
Did you see his Elvis?
I did see his Elvis. I thought it was
Oh,
interesting.
Elvis was beautiful. It was a beautiful movie. Anyways, for
For
having
stopping
me.
by.
Yeah.
This was fun. And we will see you guys next time when we read/talk about The Great Gatsby. Bye.
Cool.